Alright, I'm back with another Destiny 2 video, and today is going to kind of be a follow-up to yesterday's video, which was about the story developments of the end of Season of the Risen. We got our final mission, and you were probably kind of mad at Crow during the events of that, given what unfolded there. Just to briefly recap, Crow ditched us during the mission, and when we came back, he was in this room. He had unplugged the Scion from the mental torture chamber thing on the Hive, and the Scion died because of that. And then, in retaliation, Keitel was asking for his life. Zavala said no and was about to fight Keitel. Then instead, Saladin stepped in and offered himself up instead of Crow. Saladin did not get executed. He merely was adopted by Keitel into her war council and is now Brachus Forge, serving on her war team, but he's fine. I don't know. It's not like the biggest of deals in the world at the end, at least in terms of how we will see him in the story probably, and he is still allowed to come back and run Iron Banner, according to Keitel. But this is kind of, I've seen a common sentiment that has been a lot of hate for Crow in the wake of this, because what he did was so stupid, and I certainly called him stupid many times in yesterday, but I've calmed down a little bit now, and I'm ready to kind of go into this a little further. As you can see here, this is sort of the culmination of the Saladin-Crow relationship, was Saladin offering himself up for Crow, despite the fact that they had sparred so many times before. Saladin kept trying to, or Zavala kept trying to remind Saladin that Crow was essentially acting the way Zavala used to, back when Saladin mentored him. And then we got the lore story about how Saladin spared a child's life and then gave her an iron medallion, but then she grew up to become a monstrous warlord that he had to put down. But now he has opened himself up to trust yet again, and he has left this gift to Crow, which is his famous battle axe and his iron medallion. This is a cool little art detail that I missed the first time around, but this is the new thing in the helm that should be here for a while. I don't know if we're going to see Crow walking around with a battle axe on his back anytime soon, but I think they should at least let him wear the medallion. That'd be pretty cute. In any case, the way I see this, and kind of the defense of Crow I think you can put up here, the long arc of Crow and where Crow has been over the course of the past year does sort of make sense for his actions here. I think before this we have kind of gotten wholesome Crow in a way that was sort of hard to disagree with. Like pretty much before this, he was enslaved by Spider, and during that time he worked with a bunch of Fallen and kind of got to know the Fallen as, actual beings and like not humans, but like human adjacent at the very least, with thoughts and feelings and, things like that. So we saw him go out of his way to defend the Fallen in many circumstances. During Season of the Splicer, he was like smuggling supplies to the refugee Fallen and things like that. And then this all culminated in last season, where he finally got his old Aldrin memories back. So now he is living with this bizarre merge of Aldrin's old memories and his current memories as Crow, and trying to rectify those. What I think has happened here in Witch Queen and Risen, in terms of why he's being so erratic, Saladin kind of touches on this, but like he's got all of this guilt kind of buried inside him, because now he knows he killed Cade as Aldrin, but he also knows kind of why he did that. And, through a long chain of events that kind of goes back to ultimately Savathun in the darkness and whatever, he was tricked in order to be corrupted to kill Cade and to attempt to save his sister, which he thought was a noble cause, but he was really being tricked by a taken Nahamkara, and that was the whole thing, so that wasn't really up to him. So he felt like he was being kind of controlled and manipulated, and this is mentioned in some of the lore, but essentially Crow sees himself in the Hive that are being, they were given the light, and now they're being captured and tortured, but like he's not really clear on why, and he does not agree with the assessment that all Hive are monsters. So this actually echoes what the ghosts were kind of saying about the Hive in the lore before the season, where they believed they had pity on the Hive, who were previously called the Krill. They believed that they were tricked into accepting the darkness and becoming these kind of evil monsters, which it turns out they were tricked. One of the big reveals of the Witch Queen story campaign is that the Witness essentially tricked Savathun and her siblings into believing there was some calamity coming and that the only way forward was to accept the darkness. He overwrote in their minds the idea that the Traveler had come to Fundament, which the Traveler had, and it somehow caused them to ignore the Traveler completely and then just accept the darkness instead. So the Hive essentially sold their souls to the darkness because they felt they had no other choice, but they were tricked into that. So it wasn't really their fault. So they have kind of been operating as these, thrall, no pun intended, of the darkness for all this time, even though that wasn't by choice, and they could have been like us. They could have been guardians if they had been able to accept the Traveler instead of being tricked by the darkness instead. And that is ultimately what Savathun was trying to do. Savathun has been trying to free her people from the grip of the darkness this entire time by removing her worm, and then by proxy, once that happened, then she can start giving the light to her brethren. And also, we learned in the storyline that this wasn't like some grand heist or anything. This was the Traveler actually offering to resurrect her himself, or itself, whatever, sorry, and give the Hive the light voluntarily, rather than this being some sort of, grand thievery or something. So the Traveler believes in the worm-free Hive enough to trust them with the light, and Crow does not believe that we should be viewing them as the monsters that they have always been, because they were tricked, they were manipulated by the darkness, and now they have been given a chance in the light. And not that, the Hive Guardians are being so nice with the light, and they're constantly trying to murder us and invade Earth and take us over. So they're still doing bad things, and yet I think that we are approaching an ultimate truth here, that our common enemy is the darkness and the Witness, and that is what Savathun was trying to make clear all along. And now we have killed Savathun, but I almost am 100% positive that she will come back to life at some point, because it goes along with what we've been doing for the entire past year, which is we made the Fallen, at least some portion of the Fallen, allies. We made some portion of the Cabal our allies, and it does make sense that the Hive got screwed over by the darkness more than anyone. The Fallen were straight up abandoned by the Traveler, at least we think, unless that was a lie too. Whereas the Traveler apparently was trying to offer light and salvation to the Hive on Fundament, but the darkness tricked them into accepting the worms instead. So Crow is seeing the Scion torture all of these Lucent Hive and pry secrets from their mind and stuff, and does not believe that this is the sort of, would we want the Hive doing this to us? And while the Hive has done this to us and worse in the past, that was when the Hive was still corrupted by the darkness and their worms, and they were kind of pawns, whereas now they have sort of been, at least the Lucent Hive have been kind of liberated by Savathun, and are now officially anointed guardians by the Traveler. Again, this is not something they stole, this is something the Traveler bestowed upon them. So I think he's on the right track here. He's an idiot because he thought he could work Cabal tech, or knew enough about it, in order to just hard reboot this entire machine by unplugging the Scion, when the Scion cannot just be unplugged from the machine that easily. I'm sure there was some sort of safely remove hardware eject process that was not done. Obviously Crow was not trying to hurt the Scion, so that was an accident. Although it being an accident does not really matter for Keidel's purposes, as she says the Cabal word for accident is I don't remember. It's some combination of your fault or something. I don't know. The point is you still take responsibility for it. But Crow was willing to die because he believed he was, standing up for against a cruel practice. And then Zavala did end up dismantling that wing eventually anyway. So that was actually, accomplished in his actions. So, well, I get the idea that Crow he's become too soft, and he's a little too, over the top, love our enemy type thing. What the points he's making are actually very salient, and I think he's at least more correct about the current state of the Lucent Hive than Saladin is, because they are anointed by the Traveler. Like they were tricked by Darkness and the Witness, and they probably do deserve a second chance now that they are not like literally being controlled by a freaking parasite, which is where things were before. I mean, if I feel like if we can ally with the Cabal and the Fallen after all the conflict we've had with them, I see no reason why eventually we can't partner with at least the Lucent Hive, the ones that are free from the worms. So Crow he screwed up. Obviously, that was a very stupid thing to do in terms, like, he should have just talked to someone about it as opposed to just going to unplug the machine. But I think we have to kind of forgive him and at least understand where he's coming from, because, you know, he was viewed the same way. He was manipulated by, you know, a darkness to some extent, and his will was essentially not his own. And then now, keep in mind, all of these Hive are reborn as new creatures. And, like, yeah, they're reborn, and then immediately they have people telling them to go kill Guardians, but, like, the point still stands, like, they're kind of erased, like he was erased, and he went from very cocky, very annoying, very murdery Aldrin to Crow, who is a much nicer guy. And you would imagine that, you know, I think he wants the Hive to get a second chance the way we have given him a second chance in many ways. Now we've given him about 4 or 5 chances with some various things he screwed up, but I don't know if we need to be bashing him as much as we have, and I say that to myself too. I do still think we are on the path towards Crow becoming Hunter Vanguard. Granted, it's taking longer than I thought it would, but I very much think we are on that track. I don't know what the next steps are from here. Sometimes Crow will dip out for a full season or something, but he is very much still a central character, if not the central character of Destiny these days. And I think we're going to see a lot more from him. I think the end of the Saladin Crow kind of rivalry was excellent. I thought they set that up extremely well for this to be the kind of final moment there. I mean, I'm sure maybe the two will interact again in the future, but this was all very good, and I get what Crow is saying. He was just very dumb to execute the plan the way he did of just going on his own and disconnecting the Scion, which led to this whole drama. So hopefully he'll learn, and we'll stop screwing up, and we'll still kill things without complaining about it all the time, but I understand where he's coming from. So anyway, those are some Crow thoughts, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Take care.